Freaky Gamer Show. Oh no, Dash don't fail me now. Oh no, Dash don't fail me now. Oh no, Dash don't fail me now. Oh well, let's go, it's another Freaky Gamer Show.
Okay, g'day guys. Welcome to another episode, and just look away if you're not interested in vampire accounts, because the last month or so I've just been playing vampires over and over again in different combinations, etc., and painting some old models and revamping some things. So just fiddling around with the vampires, and this captures a game versus Chaos. I think I had a couple of games against Chaos here where I was trying the Coven Throne, and I think one game was over by turn 2, so we re-racked, and then we played another game, and I think I lost that one as well. So I didn't go so great with the Coven Throne. I was just trying it out. It's just a little bit too slow. It doesn't have the swift stride. But it is good, but nowhere near as good as maybe on the Abyssal Terror or a Dragon. And you can see he's got the Warpfire Dragon and a Chaos Lord on a Manticore, which I really struggled to deal with them. And the Dragon Ogres as well tore me apart. So that list didn't go so well. And as you can see, there's the Coven Throne about to take on the Warpfire Dragon. I think I just jumped over the top of him. This might have been the second game, because the first game I charged some Black Knights into the Warpfire Dragon and lost my Necromancer. That was on about turn 2. So anyway, some learning curves there. And the Black Coach, I gave the Black Coach another run, and it is okay, but compared to what else you can get in the rare slot, I think the Blood Knights are a lot better. So there's Von Keith on his Coven Throne. So since then, I've repurposed it, and I mounted a Necromancer in there and added some more Banshees to it. And that was another list with the Abyssal Terror, and this one did okay. That's there's my zoom in on Von Keith when he was on the Coven Throne. He is a lot better. I tried the doppelganger thing with him on the Terrorgeist. Oh, there's the Coven Throne in the second game. It got beat up by Forsaken. So, yeah, I did give the Coven Throne a couple of goes. There's Heinrich Kemmler on his Nightmare, my battle standard. So this was the list I tried doing the Doppelganger thing on the level 2 with the Dark Acolyte and everything. So that goes okay on the Abyssal Terror. And the Blood Knights, I was running a unit of 6 Blood Knights with the Terrorgeist, and nearly lost the Blood Knights a couple of times, and actually did lose them against a game versus Nurgle Demons. So my later iterations, I added more Blood Knights, and the Black Knights, I've just been using them as a bunker for the Necromancer. So I've sort of reduced them down. So then I changed, there we go, so I decided to add some Banshees. And so I converted that. Now that counts as my Mortars engine. So there's some Banshees hanging off the sides, and there's one underneath down there you can just make out. So I put 3 Banshees on it and magnetised the Necromancer. And I've got a Heinrich Kemmler on foot as well. So there's my coach getting beat up by the Manticore. And the Coven Throne getting beat up versus Chaos as well. So yeah, that's just a flashback, a horrible flashback to when I got murdered by Chaos a couple of times. And then I've just been touching up some of my old models. There's a Necrarch Vampire and Isabella von Carstein. I've got a newer model of her as well, but that's the really old metal one. And that's a conversion of a Necromancer onto foot, because back in the old days we used to run vampires on foot a lot. But now in old world, you probably need them on something bigger. Even on a Nightmare, they've only got 3 wounds. And there's Vlad von Carstein. He's on the Dragon. So my latest iteration, I've got some old models, Vlad and Conrad von Carstein and Manfred, of course. So that's Vlad von Keith. Oh, there's another Necromancer. He can sit on the Dragon. There's Manfred, an old Manfred and that's the Howdah. So I do like how he fits in there. So Vlad von Carstein, or Vlad von Keith, is my vampire of the day. And then I've got onto some other of these models. So there's the newer Isabella and Conrad von Carstein and Zachariah, whatever his name is. So this was another games day I went to with 3 games. The first one versus High Elves, and I was trying the Mortis engine for the first time. So the Mortis engine in the middle and the Vampire on the Abyssal Terror. So on this list I had 2 Screams, and I've discovered that Screams are pretty powerful. So I can see why, if you had a list with 4 Screams, it would be pretty bad for your opponent. So the Screams sort of got me out of trouble a couple of times, and this was a fairly new player playing High Elves. He had a mage on a big dragon as well, but my doppelganger got rid of him. And then this was another game versus Nurgle Demons, and I discovered how dangerous the Great Unclean One was. He actually just made short work of my Blood Knights. My 6 Blood Knights went into the Greater Demon and died. And in the end of the game, I was trying to get rid of his Greater Demon, and I was having more success with Screams. So that's all I had left was the Mortis engine and the Terrorgeist. Anyway, so on to the actual battle report. I went to a 2-game game day, and there's Heinrich Kemmler. So I've taken him off the Mortis engine, my battle standard. Small unit of Black Knights, and plenty of ghouls and some bats. So 2 units of ghouls and some vampire bats, and 6 Blood Knights again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 Blood Knights. A big unit of Blood Knights, yeah. So at this stage, I've almost lost the Blood Knights a few times, and I did lose them. The Great Unclean One killed them. A couple of units of dogs. I've got some new models for the dire wolves, and then I'm trying some zombies. Who doesn't like free stuff? So you can start with a unit of 20 and you can raise them up to 40. So that's my plan. And some bat swarms. And there's Vlad von Keith on his zombie dragon. So I'm trying the dragon out. So that's just for a change. I want to use that model. It's been sitting there. I made that Howdah that's off the War Sphinx. Put it on there so I could put whatever vampire I wanted onto the dragon. Okay, and then the first game was against Dwarves. So, spoiler, I played Dwarves twice on this game day, but this is my army, and we're playing that diagonal deployment. I think it's meeting engagement or something. And I rolled a 1 for the Black Knights. So that's my bunker for Heinrich. He was supposed to go on the Black Knights. And my zombies, I wanted to raise them up on turn 1, but they're off the table. I rolled a 1. And my bats. Oh, no one cares about the bats. And we're facing the Dwarves. So there's my deployment, the big unit of Blood Knights with the Drakenhof banner. And there's Vlad out on that flank, and then we're facing Dwarves, and you would have seen these Dwarves on the channel a few times. The best painted Dwarves going around, although my second opponent also had Dwarves, and they're pretty well best painted as well. So it's a rivalry between the Dwarves for best painted. And he rolled a 1. He's got his handgunners there, gyrocopter, and a little unit, I think they're hammerers, or I don't know which ones they are. But he had Burlock or something who was supposed to go in with the handgunners. And he rolled a 1 for him, so he's off the table with his big block and his battle standard. So a bit of a disadvantage for the Dwarves, but they're not going to be moving far away from the table edge, so they'll be able to join the battle. And that's the situation. So I'll put the Blood Knights are here, out on this flank on their own. There's the dragon. Vlad's just going to jump over the top and jump in front of all the Dwarves and challenge them to a duel. And you can see there's my Blood Knights. They're sort of stranded. I made a mistake here. I put the Necromancer here. I should have put him on the other end of the dogs there because he's out of range to resurrect the Blood Knights. So the Blood Knights are going to cop all that shooting and the anvil, etc. So that's going to be the tale of this game. If I can get the Blood Knights across the table without losing them all, and I've got to get the Necromancer. Heinrich's got to get around here to raise back into the Blood Knights. So I've made a bit of a boo-boo in deployment. But that's why you play games, to learn from your mistakes. and that's my mistake, putting them out of range of resurrection, 12 inches. And so I don't have any screams in this list at all, so I'm just trying to handicap myself with no screams. A couple of screams would come in handy sometimes, I think. So maybe one or two, but I can see fours over the top. And there look at these guys. That's the Rangers. Fantastic miniatures, and I hate Rangers. They always seem to cause me a lot of trouble, hard to get rid of. They've got the works, great weapons, etc., and so on. So they're hard to get rid of. So Vlad's just going to jump over the top here and land there and challenge those dwarves before his big unit comes on. And he's basically just going to try and shoot the crap out of the Blood Knights before they get in. And that would be the difference between victory and defeat for the dwarves. So you can see here I'm down to 6 Blood Knights left, I think, here. So I've lost a couple. And they're right in front of the Rangers. And I think they can always stand and shoot. So if I do charge in there, I'm going to cop another hail of fire as well. So we'll see what happens there. Vlad has thrown down the gauntlet on that flank. So he's got some backup with the dogs and the bats trying to protect his flank. His gyrocopter's hiding behind the castle, just up there. And the shooting continues, so he's concentrating all his fire on the Blood Knights. If he can get rid of the Blood Knights, I'd say he will have a victory. Even if he can just avoid the dragon for a bit, or just tie the dragon up for a while. So the Blood Knights are copping all that shooting and the anvil, etc. So that's the situation. So I've tried to march the direwolves around here with reserve move. I've got the battle standard and Heinrich Kemmler are in the... I'm rushing over here to try and resurrect the Blood Knights. In the meantime, I'm using the ghouls as a good screen. And Vlad's thrown down the gauntlet here. And I think in his turn, he's bringing on his reserves. So Burlock Gunderson, or whatever his name is, he was supposed to be in with the handgunners to allow him reroll ones to hit or something. And then we work out after the game it's like an aura. He doesn't have to be in the unit. It's just units in his command range, I think. Something like that. Anyway, he made a little bit of a mistake there. And Vlad's going to beat up those dwarves. And that's about it. So let's have a look at the next turn. All right. So what's going to happen now that I'm desperate here to try and get Heinrich Kemmler over next to the Blood Knights to start resurrecting them. And Vlad is just tormenting everybody on that right flank. Dwarves are scurrying everywhere, trying to work out how they're going to counter him, or at least hold him up, which they will. They'll hold him in position over there. So meanwhile, you can see now I'm down to 3 Blood Knights left, but I do have the ghouls on the flank, and the Blood Knights are going to go into the Rangers, as long as I can survive the stand and shoot. And I've got ghouls in the middle here. Yeah, so those ghouls are going to go into the flank, and the Blood Knights into the front of the Rangers. And then I've got these ghouls into his handgunners. So I've got Van Hell's Dance Macabre off on them. So +3 movement and weapon skill. So they're weapon skill 6 and speed 8. So they can be situational, the ghouls. I'm learning how to use them a bit better. Certain situations they're good, other times they're just useless, but if you use them well, they're okay. Just in skirmishing units of 10, they're pretty good value. And so the dwarves are hanging on, and so the Blood Knights and the ghouls have gone in here. And they're going to actually break the Rangers because I've got the champion of the Blood Knights causes terror. He's got supernatural horror or something I gave him. So that little 1 point of leadership difference meant those Rangers are going to break. And then we're going to reform and start heading towards the middle. The Black Knights have arrived on the table with the zombies slowly following up behind them. And the ghouls are doing pretty well in the middle. They're going to hold the handgunners up for a while, which will limit their shooting. And I've got Heinrich Kemmler is right next to the Blood Knights now, so he'll be able to start resurrecting them. So the Blood Knights have survived. I think in the end he gets them down to about 2 left. We'll have a look in a minute, probably come up somewhere. Get some focus on here. There we are. So the Blood Knights finish off the Rangers. They broke. I reformed, ready to go into the Iron Drakes. So there's 3 Blood Knights left, but I do have them now in range for resurrection. And then Vlad is just beating up heroes and champions over here in challenges. So he's just holding up that right flank, and the Dwarves have come on to try and counter him. And the ghouls are pushing up in the middle. Here come the zombies. They're not going to do anything. They were off the table, and 3 Blood Knights left. But in a moment, most of them will be back. I was pretty happy with those ghouls holding the handgunners up for a while until the reserves came to help out. He had miners as well, but he brought them on just from reserve rather than behind me. And there's the 3 Blood Knights left. If you had a bit more luck, I did roll a bunch of 4+s to save at one stage, so he could have wiped the Blood Knights out. If he had killed the Blood Knights, he probably would have won, because I wasn't doing enough damage with Vlad over there. But because the Blood Knights managed to survive, there's only 2 left now. But in my turn, Heinrich's going to bring most of them back. I don't know if I get them all back, but I get most of them back. And Vlad's just over there killing champions and so on. And then there's the Blood Knights are back. And the gyrocopter goes into the back of Vlad as well. So there's the Blood Knights. They're drilled. So they drill out and kill the Iron Drakes. And so Vlad's doing... Well, the Dwarves are doing their job holding him up. And we're fighting them over the fence. Even fighting them over the fence, we managed to beat up the Iron Drakes. So yeah, the difference of the whole game was they didn't quite manage to kill the Blood Knights. Which is pretty good. They're like bloody chosen knights that you can bring back 4 at a time with the Necromancer. So that's the key. I've found the difference is just adding 2 more. So it's having a unit of 8 instead of 6 was probably the difference. My old unit of 6 I probably would have screened a bit better, but I was a bit laissez-faire with the unit of 8. So I've got the full Blood Knights back. They're into the anvil now. The Black Knights had the standard of Hellish Vigour, so they've caught up, and Heinrich has joined them. And it's clean-up time in the middle, and Vlad's holding those dwarves up. The bat swarms came in and rescued Vlad from the gyrocopter, and it ends up like a little narrow victory to the vampires. So much better than my previous results versus Chaos. So a win to the vampires versus dwarves, and I'll give you a quick report of round 2 as well, where we played dwarves again. All right, so round 2, similar sort of list, but a nice like Norscan theme for these dwarves. Some old classic models, etc. And it's like a Norscan theme. He's got bits of Viking icons here on them and so on, and an old like long ship on there, etc. So I'm very lucky to have played against another fantastically painted dwarf army. But it's a similar sort of battle. He's got some rangers there, and he had lots of crossbows. So he's sort of deployed in the corner, and there's the bats. Haven't really done much. Not impressed with my vampire bats. Haven't really used them very well, and they don't seem to do much. So I'm just going to probably get some more ghouls into the next list. We'll have a look. And so this is pretty much a similar sort of game. I just sort of sent Vlad straight up the middle with the Blood Knights. I gave the Blood Knights a bit of a screen this time, and I used my bats and bat swarms to swarm around his rangers. He had a smaller unit of rangers. So his rangers actually do pretty well. I think they might not even kill the rangers by the end of the battle. But I'm just sort of diverting and screening units with the dogs, and I did have the zombies on the table, and I raised the zombies up to 40. So that was the first game. They were off the table, and Vlad's just flying around, charging units and killing champions. So there's one champion that fell to Vlad's sword, and there's my big unit of 40 zombies are going to march up the table, and then Vlad's over the other side. The Blood Knights are beating units up, and he failed to restrain. So I was a bit worried he was going to turn around and charge Vlad, but he rolled a 10, which would have been a big difference there because he would have turned around with his big unit and charged Vlad. And there's Vlad kills another champion. He's very tough on his dragon, flying around killing champions, dwarf champions everywhere. He's killed a few. And the zombies get into the flank of some quarrelers, I think they're called. And it's sort of pretty much the same sort of result. Fly around, killing champions, and with support of the ghouls. So another victory, but it was a nicely painted dwarf army. Some good old-fashioned... I used to have these sort of models in my old dwarf armies. I've had a couple of dwarf armies and moved them on. So that was it. So that's the end result. So been a month or so of playing vampires of various descriptions, and I took them to another 3-game tourney last weekend. So I'll probably put up a report of that, and then I'll probably put the vampires aside for a while and get out the orcs and goblins next, I think. Got another game day coming up on Good Friday next week, so I'll probably take the orcs and goblins or maybe some chaos. Anyway, I think I've got the orcs and goblins packed, so they're ready to go. So I'll probably take them, I think. But got a report coming up, 3 games with vampires, and then probably onto some orcs and goblins. Anyway, just short and sweet, just the development of my list. I'm trying to avoid adding too many screams. I can see screams are good. So 1 or 2 maybe would be maximum for me. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Creaky rolls, the cannons fail, the cavalry panics, the soldiers bail. Every time his feet is bold, they left us leaves and cold. Oh, another cricket game to show.